What's up, everybody? I figured I would make a video on LS Squarebody Basics. There's a lot of square bodies out there. They're a very popular truck, especially right now. They're getting kind of expensive to obtain anymore, but a lot of times, a lot of guys are wanting to get rid of the old small block or big block technology and go to an LS. Well, LS swaps are a dime a dozen anymore. A lot of guys are wanting to do them themselves. So I thought I'd make this video to discuss different ways you can swap LSs into your square bodies. I've done a handful of them. They're pretty easy. I can pretty much do them in my sleep now. There's different, like I said, many different ways of going around to it. I'm just going to go through a select few options you have. Like some of you guys may not want to have drive shafts built, may not have a good drive shaft guy, or the drive shafts itself can run you $400, $500 or higher, depending on your guy. Fab work's expensive. But yeah, so the easiest route to go, if your square body had a factory 700R4 208 combo. Now, why I say that is because the 700R4 is essentially a 4L60 mechanical version of it. If you're wanting to use it 80, we'll get into that a little later in the video, but that is the easiest way to go. But if that's not what you got, don't worry. That's we're going to have plenty of options here. But first we're going to go over just getting the engine into the truck. So the basic thing we're going to start out with is what everybody would think, motor mounts. There are hundreds of options for motor mounts out there. My personal favorites is the Dirty Dingo slider mounts. Why? Because they work on an array of different applications. Array of transmission options, way of transfer case options. You can get them from Dirty Dingo. They're about $105, unless you want them powder coated. They're about $115. You can get them up off eBay, some knockoffs, for a lot less. I have run the eBay ones; they're just fine. Some people do not like the engine mounts, the sliders, because they figure they're weak. I've been putting plenty of torque through a stock 5.3 and haven't had any issues. I know guys who've put 600 upwards horsepower on slider mounts and not had a problem. Just make sure you have good washers in between there, get them good and nice and torqued down, and you'll be all right there. So there is other options. There are these. They're $29. You are kind of limited on mounting locations with this. The slider, I know you can make a LS 4L60 208 241 transfer case options. They can slide up and hook together perfectly. These kind of limit your spots, but obviously if you're good with the drill, you can drill and make yourself some more mounts in locations. Then you have the plates. I've used plates, not a fan of plates. Do kind of give you a little more mounting locations than the previous thing I've shown you, but you're kind of stuck using the clamshell mounts. Your motor will set a tad bit higher. They're just kind of a pain. So I recommend the slider mounts. So now we will go ahead and talk about oil pans. Stock cross members will not fit a truck pan. They'll fit an F-body pan just fine. I'm sure the Corvette pan they won't fit, and I know the GTO pan, by guarantee, because that's front sump, I believe, will definitely not fit. So you guys can pick, the best one is the Holley 302-1. You can pick up a Holley, they're about $414. You do need a LS3 style dipstick. You can get it from Holley, they're $43. You can get them a dime a dozen on eBay from anywhere from like $150 to $250. Here's one for $130. I've used this one. Matter of fact, there's one sitting on my 5.3 on the stand, just a couple feet away from here. And they seem to be great pans. Cheap option, just give you plenty of clearance for that front cross member. If you don't want to spend $230, there is an option for you guys. Buy the Dirty Dingo slider mounts or the eBay knockoffs. Then go over here in these billet slider plates, pick a set of these up. Alright, get some longer bolts, use the plates as spacers, Actually, these ones right here are better. If they don't have the dish, they got the notches like this, those are better. Pick yourself up a set of those, some longer bolts, use these as spacers, and you will have clearance between your cross member and your oil pan. It'll also set your pinion angle up a little bit, which, I mean, if you're lifting it and you don't want to drop your cross member, you're fine there. So that pretty much set my angle of my U-joints on my Squarebody perfect. So now, going back here to this, we got the aluminum oil pans options, or the spacers, whatever you want. Now we go into actually getting transmissions in. If you're going to run your Turbo 350, Turbo 400, that's fine. You guys can buy a kit from, you can buy the little adapter here, you can buy a flywheel that's drilled to it, you can use a stock Ellis flywheel, just egg out the holes a little bit. I like this kit from Speedway Motors. They're 160 bucks pretty much. Comes with a flywheel, flex plate bolts, torque converter bolts, and the adapter. So that it will bolt right up to your Turbo 350 700R4, and you'll have no problems there. Then your next option of transmissions, obviously, is the 4L60E. Everybody gives the 4L60E a bad rep. I personally love them. They're a great transmission in my opinion. I've had plenty of people push plenty of power through them. I have no problem with any of my vehicles that's got 4L60s. They can put a boatload of miles on if you keep them cool and if you upgrade the torque converter. So, that being said, 4L60s, great option. If you got a 700R4, once again, very easy swap in that. But if you don't, I can understand. You guys got a 205, or you want to put a 205 in your project and keep it, you guys can pick yourself up a 4L60 adapter from Advanced Adapters. It's spendy. It's almost 800 bucks. But this will let you plug into a 27 spline 205. Now, if you have a 31 spline 205, you literally have the holy grail of 205 transfer cases. And if you're wanting to put a 4L60 in and you have a 31 spline 205 transfer case, sell it and get yourself a 27 spline, because trust me, you'll actually come out of money ahead. This is the kit that works pretty good. It comes with your adapter here and this piece that bolts to your transfer case, the transfer case adapter, and it comes with an input shaft for your transfer case, seals, collar, speed sensor, all that jazz. You put this up to your 205, to your 4L60, still use your mechanical speedometer gear out the back of your transfer case for your speedometer. You can use the mechanical gear-driven speedometer if you want to. So the second option is if you are going to run a 208. Now, on the options of this, the nice thing about this kit is you can run the factory 205 crossmember, so you won't have a problem there. Now, this kit is for the early 208 700R4 combos. Now, what I mean by that is there's two different versions of the cross members here. This is an early one with the 2 pad mounts. It's very similar to like a 205 transfer case. Then they have this style mount here with the 2 bolt holes, which is just for a standard mount, transmission mount. There's actually a single bolt hole in the middle of that on a lot of them. Actually, no, there's 2 pins. Never mind. That's two-wheel drive applications. But yeah, there's 2 pins that slide down in there, and 2 bolts and 2 nuts go on there. Or 2 nuts. 2 bolts your transfer case, 2 nuts on your cross member. Then there's 2 different 700R4 late model cross members, like the one you seen before here at the bottom, which just gives you room for your front drive shaft here, exhaust here, same situation up top, but exhaust here, transfer case here, drop out for your front drive shaft. They're basically essentially the same cross member. I like the top one better because it gives you a little more room, a little more ground clearance on the driver's side. But that's the options for the transfer case. But like I said, this will allow you to keep on the 208 your mechanical speedometer again. So if that's an option you guys want to use, it'll work great for that. If you have a 27 spline input shaft 208 that comes on like a Turbo 350 or a 700R4, Turbo 400s and old mechanical 4L80s, those are 32 spline. Did I say 31 spline earlier? Yeah, make sure. 32 spline. I meant 32 spline on your 205. So if you are doing the 205 and you have 27 spline, you're good for a 4L60. 27 spline, 208, good for a 4L60. There's also a 241 passenger drop transfer case. These are found in late square Suburbans and Blazers. These are an awesome transmission. They are already have a 40 pulse electronic sensor on them, most of them, that can be easily adapted to your 4L60 using the standard 4L60 transfer 6-bolt 4L60 transfer case adapter. If you have one of these in a 241, they'll bolt right together. You hook your speed sensor right into the back of the transfer case. You hook up your low input on your PCM, and you're good to go. Now, we're talking 4L80s. 4L80s are a big monster. Not really. There's plenty of room to put them under there, but we're talking about 4L80s now. Okay, so like I said earlier, if you have a 32 spline 205, you're lucked out. It can't speak all of a sudden. If it comes behind a turbo 400, it's 32 spline. You can buy this adapter here. It's $217, and you will be able to hook your 205 right up to your 4L80. And this comes with a tone ring and the speedometer sensor, and you can run that right into your 4L80 and have a perfectly working speedometer. And yeah, but the last time I was on the hunt for a 32 spline 205, it didn't come across one very easy, and they were rather expensive if you do come across one. So I know you guys that have a 27 spline input 205 feel left out. There is an option. They do make another kit. Once again, it's almost $700, and you have to machine the 205 casings opening for the bearing bigger. So you have to take it to a machine shop, unless you can run a lathe, and open that bearing cavity out to fit this kit. Which, I mean, it's not impossible, but you're still going to be into it. $700. You can put that money into finding a 32 spline 205. I'm not going to get into a 203 in this video because 203s are they're all-wheel drive transfer cases. They're good transfer cases, but 90% of the time, most people aren't even going to bother swapping in a 203 at this point in time anyways. Yeah, and I've never done it, so I'm not got any experience in it. I'm sure if I had to, I could figure something out. With plenty of research, anything's possible. But yeah, so you guys with the 27 spline, you can get this kit, have the cavity opened up, and you can swap the input shafts, and you can get it all good to go. If you guys have a 208 behind a TH400, or a 241 behind a 4L80 or a TH400, you can just buy this adapter here, bolt them up together, plug your speed sensor in to the front. Except for you guys with the 208s, there's a caveat to that, because you do not have a speed sensor. You have mechanical drive speedo. You can buy a digital speedo conversion and get it geared just right in the tail housing for your gears and your tires, and you can go in the PCM and tell them to set a certain parameter, and it works. It's kind of janky, but it should work pretty good for you guys. I know a couple people that do it and get away with it. There's another option on the 4L80s. You can actually come in here. This is an early one right here, because there's a secondary speed sensor in the back here, right there. Why can't I get there? Right there. You can actually have the transmission taken apart and a tone ring put on the rear. The later ones are plugs. There's no speed sensor in them. If you have your transmission rebuilt, you can actually have the tone ring put in the back of them, and you can put a speed sensor in it, and boom, you can use your mechanical speedo, whatever. 208s are also very easy to swap the input shaft from a 27 spline to a 32 spline. So, that case, you can make a half-ton Turbo 350 700R4 208 fit a 4L80 by swapping the input shaft. And if you have the older style, or just have lucky having a transmission that has a rear speed sensor, you're good to go there too. You'll be able to hook that up to your PCM, pulls your rear speed, your turbine speed, and then your rear speed, and you got perfectly good to go there. So that's pretty much all the transmission stuff I've got for you guys. Transfer cases and stuff like that. to mount them in. They're pretty simple. On a 4L80 situation, you're definitely going to have shafts made. It's kind of the way it goes with that, just being because it's so much longer transmission. Turbo 350, obviously, if you're going to be using the old school transmissions, you can use slider mounts, you can use the adapters, and the transmissions will build up. Transfer case, everything should work there just fine. 700R4s, you're going to have to figure out how to do a TV cable up to a throttle pedal. And if you're using electronic throttle, you're kind of SOL there. But yeah, so that's how that works. Pretty simple. You guys got any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. And that wraps up the first video of LS Squarebody Basics.